There it is. And thank you all for logging in. And also thank you for your grace and your patience. I know that we hit 27 shows in a row, I believe, about that since February 9th was our first broadcast, our first webcast. We hadn't put anything on the podcast at that point. But I know that I've missed maybe, let's see here, 3 weeks. I would say almost 3 weeks, or 3 episodes, not 3 weeks, 2 weeks. 2 weeks and 3 episodes. My life got extremely busy, and that also involved a trip to Line 3, and we'll get to that in just a bit here. But I just want to say how good it feels really to be back, to be stationary. I was doing a lot of traveling, and at this time, as you all know, everybody out there who kind of depends, shout out to all you tuning in right now. Kip Tassin, that was Bad Nation, by the way. You know, shout out to Gerald and everybody else with Bad Nation Drum Group. I've had other bros that have sang with Bad Nation and who are now singing with other drums, but Bad Nation they're bad. You got to check them out, and I go to them quite regularly. Elk Soldier is another group that you want to check out. That's Gary Droppo, Glenn Droppo, all of the cousins, the relatives, the nephews, the sons, and the women as well. Bad Nation, that was Bad Nation that you heard right there, though, at the beginning. Even though it was a little bit, little chopped up a little bit, we're trying to figure that out, and just bear with us. You know, we didn't start experiencing any of those technical glitches until we became highly critical of the United States government. I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Anyway, those little glitches, they come, they go. But we're working our way through that. We will figure that out. We've got a couple more videos that we want to try to show you tonight. But I can't thank our drum groups enough, including people like Tony Duncan. These are people that just said, yes, Chase, go ahead and use our art, use our material, put it on your show, but just give us credit, give us source credit, give us a shout out. So that includes Tony Duncan, who's a champion hoop dancer. He might be a fancy dancer. I don't know about that, but I know he's a hoop dancer for sure. And he plays the flute. So I want to thank him, and I also want to thank Bad Nation, and I want to thank Elk Soldier, and I also want to hit up Iron Boy and Midnight Express. They're called Midnight Express. Those are some northern drums that I really I've listened to them for some time, for a good long while. But let me get to past the first part of just saying thank you all for the patience, and you know that you can count on this show every single Wednesday, except those shows where we weren't here because it just got too crazy. It got too crazy to keep that schedule. So, but I want to thank you all for tuning in. Tonight we're going to start with Line 3. If I can give you a show rundown very quickly. Shout out to Chuck Archambault, Sorrel. Get well, brother. Stay in the cut. Stay strong. Shout out to everyone tuning in. I really XJ Wichasha, the drum group, brother. I get it now. Anyhow, back to my lineup. One of my bros is throwing me off here today. That's because I pay attention to your comments. So thank you all for commenting. Thank you all for sharing the stream. Thank you for making this part of your evening. I will start tonight's show with Chief Barry Cross tuning in. Even they said, Lila Tayawa Chianke Tahashi. Very good to see you. So the squad, as you know, are a set of legislators, including Ayanna Pressley, who's from the 7th District in Massachusetts, which includes some pieces of right by Boston. Anyway, her name's Ayanna Pressley. It includes Cori Bush is now a member of the squad. She is the sister who is representing one of the districts in Ferguson, Missouri, in the United States Congress. Ilhan Omar, who represents the 5th district in Minneapolis-St. Paul area, and Rashida Tlaib, who represents from Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. And of course, another member of the squad is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who many of you may or may not know that AOC, as the media calls her, and the media also calls this group of sisters, they call themselves Sisters in Service, but the media calls them the squad altogether. And anyhow, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, got her start at Standing with Standing Rock, at the No Dapple struggle, at Ocheti Shakonwi and Ocheti Oyate. I'm not quite 100% sure on the days that she came through, but this is where we're connected to these legislators. I want to say good evening to Vivian High Elk. It's always amazing when our people, our indigenous people, or for me, I was born into the Lakota people, so our Lakota people. There's 100,000 of us. Well, there's supposed to be 300,000 of us. It's very good. It reminds me that the work that we do is serious, and that our elders, our teachers, and our young people are paying attention. And it looks like Julie Nilsson was there. She was there when AOC came to Standing Rock. So Standing Rock has these ripple effects, and it includes AOC, and it also includes everybody who's part of the squad, because the squad, those legislators that I just named, they came out to Minneapolis, Minnesota. That is where they congregated first. On September 4th and 5th, they were at Minneapolis, Minnesota, Minneapolis-St. Paul, right by where the Mississippi River runs through those cities. But they were also on Lake Bemidji. And I want to, we're going to speak about them in just a minute. And then secondly, I will spend some time on talking about Line 3 and the squad, because they're just amazing. I love them with everything that I've got. I know that they are completely necessary to our struggle, which also includes what is going on with Texas. First, we'll take a look at ICWA, what the state of Texas and their attorney general or solicitor general, their top attorney, their top law enforcement officer, what they're trying to pull off in undermining federal law, the Indian Child Welfare Act. Some of you might remember the baby Veronica case. Well, we're going to take a little dive into ICWA, into what's going on in Texas. And then third, Texas is on the menu again. It's kind of like when Kristi Noem is doing some deleterious, some nefarious shenanigan every week, every other week. Texas, well, I should say the radical right in Texas is also taking these measures, it seems, not only with ICWA, but with the sovereignty that women are supposed to have over their own bodies. People that do not have a uterus should not be trying to make rules about people that have uteri. Uterus, you get the point. We should not be doing that as the males of the species. But as we know, this country was founded on heteronormative, racist patriarchy and xenophobia, really, before it was even called that. So we're going to spend some time looking at what's going on in Texas. And then lastly, I want to give you a bit of an update. I just saw that on, I believe, Cinema Stereo on Instagram, as well as Sean King on Instagram, have put me on to the fact that the former district attorney in the Ahmaud Arbery case, and some of you might remember, this is where this brother was lynched in and around Atlanta, Georgia. He was jogging in a neighborhood. He was pursued by two white middle-aged people who apparently were in with the prosecution, were in with the district attorney, who knew, they all knew each other. And so even they killed this man, they lynched this man, and they tried to cover it up. So just like Derek Chauvin is finally facing justice, I believe he was sentenced to 23 years, maybe 16 years. I don't quite remember, because it's never good enough. It's progress. I will nod my head in acknowledgement. I will tip my hat. It is progress that white police who are killing Black people and indigenous people, queer people, and any other, even white people, other white people, it's rare is the day that we see them face any kind of justice. So the fact that Derek Chauvin is going to do time, that is a mark of progress. The fact that this woman in Ahmaud Arbery's case, it was arrested, yes, that is a mark of progress, and I will give it the proper due. But it happens so little that we really don't even expect it. So again, I will touch on that at the end of the show, but that's the rundown. Guys, stick around for it because it's going to go fast. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for sharing the stream. Please share the stream. If you have not done so, subscribe to our podcast. There are 27 episodes in our podcast, and that's basically 27 hours. Maybe even more. Some of these shows went 90 minutes, some of them 100 minutes. So you might be getting 36 hours or so of material for free. You're inheriting the benefits of my struggles through college, through law school, all the reading, all the writing. What basically cost me $120,000, I'm giving to you, the people, for free, because I'm like that. But any of you who become financial subscribers to our podcast, like I said before, you are going to get some merch. We have the merch already, but it's like we also have day jobs. And so this isn't the only thing that I do. Although this is one of the things that I do that I love the most. I was meant to do this. I love doing this, and even though it's a responsibility, it's also a blessing. Every gift is kind of its own responsibility. It's its own, cross to bear, or a response, something to shoulder. And so we do have merch. We just haven't launched it yet, brothers and sisters. So everybody, we will throw a link up on how to subscribe to the podcast, because on the podcast you can get just all the audio. And yes, there's parts where I thank our sponsors. I'm going to thank Lakota People's Law Project. I'm going to thank Romero Institute, because without their financial support, we wouldn't be able to do this. I'm going to thank Last Real Indians, because they are another publishing partner. I'm going to thank Indigenous Peoples Movement, because they are also a publishing partner. They're just good peoples that know that, yes, hey, we're trying to raise the indigenous consciousness or consciousness in general around the globe. And so, you know what? You can support our work by doing that. You can subscribe to our podcast. Like I said, it's free to subscribe. But those of you who become financial subscribers, meaning that you make like, I don't know, what do you pay for a coffee every single time you go? Like $4, $5. If you become a $5 a month subscriber, you're going to get merch. And I don't know how we're going to make that work, but we already have the merch, so we're going to give it away. We were going to sell it, but again, we want the show to go on. We want the show to live, and we want to grow it. And so we're just going to be doing some very generous things. So please go to our podcast, hit that link up, go to anchor.fm. That's like the main site where we host it. And then you can search Cut to the Chase Iron Eyes. Put the little iron eyes at the end of that. It'll help you find it easier. And click the subscribe button. You can go and listen to all of the episodes. We're building it out as we go along. So like I haven't had time to go and give you brief synopses of every single episode, but we've had some really good episodes and we'll continue to have more. We also support our other folks who are they're actually doing their cast right now. My friends at Native Roots Radio. And then there's another podcast that is coming around and I'll hip you to that when we talk about ICWA. But let's start with line 3. I have been on a whirlwind of a schedule, and I missed Oscar High Elk. I see that Oscar High Elk is he's either logged on or he can hear me through Tui Vivian's Facebook, possibly all the way out in Greengrass, which would be kind of crazy. Anyhow, we missed Oscar because we pulled in at GNU Collective at Camp Namawag very recently, and we found Oscar's cohort, and he's if you don't remember Oscar, he's still facing time in South Dakota over the Keystone XL pipeline. Since Standing Rock happened, all of the people who the media and yeah, we also call ourselves water protectors, but people who witnessed the violence, the brutality, and the unjust nature of what the corporate state can instigate against indigenous people, against treaty people, against Americans. You were able to see firsthand just how at risk we are. And this fight has now very much transitioned after Biden because of the efforts of people like Oscar High Elk, people like Jacelyn Charger, Joseph White Eyes, Tashina Sapawi. That's all I know her name is on Facebook. But I've seen the deeds that these people have done. I mean, it's not just them, but these are people that I know off the top of my head who I've seen do brave deeds and have never had a proper well, back in the day we called it maybe a Waktegli, Tui Vivian. You might have to weigh in right in the comment section here. Waktoglaka, maybe like a retelling of deeds. Whenever you did something brave out in the field, or somebody had to witness it, and then you were able to kind of claim honors, or they claimed them on your behalf because they told about them. Well, I can't necessarily tell about some of the deeds that these people have done because that's their story to tell, but I've seen them do great deeds. And these direct actions, these frontline actions, this civil resistance, it gets the goods. If you remember, Jacelyn Charger was charged with trespass related to the Keystone XL pipeline, and Oscar had this host of other charges, even including aggravated assault. And if you are around South Dakota, you should be aware that the state of South Dakota brought out their top law prosecutor, their top dog. His name is Marty Jackley. And I remember, because I was in the courtroom with Oscar when some of this is going down, and it's very serious. These states, and I'll talk about this throughout the cast, the fact that we are engaged in a spiritual battle. Sometimes you might call it a culture war. Sometimes you might call it a struggle for the contours of the narrative. You might struggle for, you might call it whose truth is going to be told, and all of those things are up for grabs right now. But after Standing Rock, as you know, 37 different state legislatures passed laws to criminalize the kind of civil resistance that we saw at Standing Rock. Not only that, but the federal government, from Obama to Trump to Biden, the federal government has called water protectors like Jessica Resnicek and Ruby Montoya, has called them terrorists. And I believe it might be an Obama appointee that has sentenced Jessica Resnicek to 8 years in a federal prison. That's 96 months. 8 years. That is no small bid. That is no small sentence. Jessica Resnicek does not deserve to go to prison for one single day. All that happened was an incident of property damage, but because it happened to a dead pipeline, meaning there was no oil flowing through it yet, this is probably why our videos get scrambled, because we speak the truth here. We let you know exactly where things stand, because we know that you are thinking people. We know that you are committed, that you are dedicated to that kind of change that we are fighting for. So Jessica was sentenced to 8 years because the United States has declared energy infrastructure, like pipeline infrastructure, the pipes, the pump stations, all the attendant and pertinent, attachments and infrastructure, has declared them to be matters of national security. So if you protest around one, if one is harmed, you are considered a terroristic threat to the national security of the United States. They do not provide any of that same protection for the health of our water, the health of our ecosystems. None of that is tied to national security, even though that truly, in a time of climate collapse, is the direct source of our national security, of our human security. But right now, you should not forget her name. You should look her up, follow her on Twitter. I mean, I don't know what can be done, but Jessica Resnicek cannot go to prison. I can't sleep knowing that her and Ruby Montoya, my mind won't rest. I don't know the kind of peace of mind that we all want our loved ones and our children to experience, because people are facing prison time. Ruby Montoya right now is in a fight for her life. She was a co-defendant. Her and Jessica were co-defendants. Anyhow, there's some things about that case that I can't talk about here, but that are going on because we're investigating. We're trying to figure out how to help. And the same thing is happening at Line 3. So right on the heat of our travels, of my travels, we were able to go witness, to go participate, and go support the traditional ricing practices, cultural practices of the Sandy Lake Anishinaabe. The Sandy Lake Anishinaabe are good friends of ours, good friends of mine. I was able to meet a woman named Liz and a woman named Jean. And hold up a second. Somebody said that our screen is frozen. Maybe it's just like that for Renda, and it's not like that for everyone else. But if you can hear what we're saying here, please just send a little something in the comment section that says that you can hear us loud and clear. Okay, all right, sweet. So yes, we're doing all we can. We're praying. We're sending our energy. We're concentrating, and we are giving the best of what we have to make sure that these brave souls who are offering themselves to change our trajectory, that they are protected, that they are not forgotten, because it's something else. to be having these felony charges hanging over your head. It's no fun. So we were able to not only go to the traditional ricing to witness and support the traditional ricing practices of the Sandy Lake tribal nation, the band of Anishinaabe there, but we were able to catch up with the squad. And I rattled off their names a little earlier, but they came to Minneapolis, and they are what is not remaining, but they represent, in my own opinion, they represent the progressive element, if there is one, in the Democratic Party. And yes, the radical racist right shows us exactly where they stand, but the Democratic Party is not exactly friends of ours. Yes, they're preferable to the asinine, terroristic, Ku Klux Klanish body politic of a Trump and those who adore him, like David Duke, what's his name? Sean Spencer. What's that old guy's name? He looks like he's like, I can't remember his name. Steve Bannon. Oh my gosh. Well, it's a good thing that I'm forgetting about these guys. But yes, the Democratic Party is preferable to those guys who are literally willing to torch this country just because they can't sit on our necks and oppress us every single day, who probably cry at night that Black people are not enslaved and indigenous peoples are not fully genocided. They probably cry at night and send those prayers to whoever they think they're praying to. Yes, we prefer, a reasonable, warm body to those guys. But Obama didn't exactly show up for us at Standing Rock. He, in his own words, left us out there so he could see how it was going to play out. In the meantime, 850 people were arrested. People lost their eyesight. People lost their arms. Maimery happened. I mean, just brutalities happened. And they have the power to stop this. So Biden is still allowing Line 3 to proceed. These guys are politicians. These are not our friends. Even with the squad, even with AOC, these are politicians. We have to be completely critical. But the squad and AOC, for everybody's criticism of them and otherizing of them. I mean, people talk about Ilhan Omar. The first thing they talk about is the fact that she's descended from Somalians. Just like when they claimed Barack Obama didn't have a birth certificate, that he wasn't born in this country. The first thing they mention about Ilhan Omar is September 11th, 9/11. I mean, playing on these old played out tropes to try to, if you support anything Muslim, then you're a terrorist. You're anti-American. If you don't support pipelines, and their corporate greed and big oil's ability to shove these projects through your homelands, then you're anti-American. You're against jobs. This is ridiculous. And so Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, the first thing people, she's Palestinian. She cusses. She says the F word. And meanwhile, Trump gets away with, arguably he's got away with rape. Allegedly. But that's the first thing you hear of when it's Rashida Tlaib, that she says the F word, that she's unladylike. You know what I mean? Like Cori Bush from Ferguson, Ayanna Pressley from Massachusetts. They represent the redemptive, progressive qualities of that party, the Democratic Party. And they are also human beings. They are sisters in service who have the backs of indigenous peoples. And they were at Line 3 just recently, just throwing down for indigenous people. They were hosted by Tara Hauska at Camp Namawag, at the GNU Collective. And yes, Winona LaDuke was there from Honor the Earth. Tasha Martineau was there from Camp McGeezy. Firelight Camp was there. I can't remember Don's last name. And I don't want to get it wrong, but you should know about Sister Dawn, because these people are fighting with their lives. They're putting everything on the line. And I want to thank them for it. But the squad was on the ground in full solidarity. And they were giving voice to, they were giving platform to everybody who's struggling at Line 3. Goodwin, thank you to Joan Goff Bollett, Don Goodwin from Firelight Camp, Rise and Engage. If you could follow them on Twitter as well. Maybe we'll throw up that one slide or that graphic that we had that listed out, Red Lake Treaty Camp, GNU Collective, Honor the Earth, Camp McGeezy, Rise and Engage, I believe is the name of Don Goodwin's the Firelight Camp. Like I said, there's these different camps, and we want you to follow all of them. We want you to pay attention to all of them, because this is still winnable. Enbridge is always putting out propaganda. The pipeline's 90% done. You know what I mean? They're trying to get inside our heads and tell us that it's not worth the struggle. But all you've got to do is spend one day around Tara Hauska, one day around Tasha Martineau or Sasha Bolio or anyone there at any of those camps. Not just the personalities that were elevated, just like AOC was elevated as part of the squad. There are people who were just like I was elevated as part of Standing Rock, just like Tara, Winona, Tasha, Sasha, Dawn. People are elevated as just as part of the natural process of I don't know, maybe it's icon culture or just our need to kind of to have a leader. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. Like I have my leaders and my teachers too, but that's not. I just don't want to trivialize or leave out the struggles of everybody who's there on the ground, who is at this point nameless, who doesn't care about recognition, who are not in it for that. But I name these names because we should also celebrate those people who are our heroes, who are taking these bold steps and pushing the fight for climate justice, pushing eco-consciousness, pushing the fight for indigenous sovereignty. You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we just celebrate them too and not have to worry about, oh, you're recognizing this person, but you're not recognizing that person. I'm sorry it shakes down like that, but I'm gonna give them all the props in the world. So we're gonna attempt to roll in a video from the day that the squad, including Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, Cori Bush, and also Mary Kunesh. She is a Democratic senator from, I forget the district, but right in North St. Paul, North St. Paul. She is a Standing Rock national, a Standing Rock descendant. Her people are from Standing Rock. And I did not know that until I was right there, because yes, Minneapolis is largely Anishinaabe, largely Dakota, largely Ho-Chunk. It was one of those Indian removal centers. So there's it's not just those big native nations that are there. There's lots of people there. But Mary Kunesh was one of the people that invited the squad, and she hosted them. She traveled with them. So we do have a little bit of a roll in that I want to try to show you, that kind of gives you contextualizes what happened that day that the squad initiated their journey into Line 3. So if we could try to roll that, please.
Any other questions?
Representative, given the pretext that what you are all describing is a cultural war, a spiritual battle. Indigenous sovereignty is linked with George Floyd. This city, indigenous sovereignty, we recognized Americans' right to have any legitimacy or claim to even exist in our homeland. It's tied to the ban on the entire Muslim faith flying into our country. It's tied to the Zionist instigation of the Nakba, which for my people, we were removed from this territory in 1862. So I know you are all walking a very fine line within the Democratic Party, and I would like to know how you are your willingness to come here means that you're willing to compel our colleagues there who sometimes have to be pushed and prodded into progressive stances, and I'm speaking about Gina McCarthy, speaking about Sister Peggy Flanagan. There's only so much that real progressive people can do within the DNC. So how is that fight or struggle going for you all?
The fight and the struggle continues. I'm sure my sisters can add to this. What we are able to do is to stand on our principles. Continue to advocate for those who have entrusted their votes and voices onto us to be a voice for them in rooms where decisions are being made about them without them. And we will continue to do that. I can't speak for why others haven't stood up for those that have believed in them, that have invested in them, and the people that they said that they were going to fight for. But what I can speak to is that you are never going to experience that with me and those that stand here with me today. And with that, thank you all.
That's the squad right there. And we love them dearly. And I know that, so Sandra Young saw a video of me there, and she put hydrate, hydrate, hydrate in the comments. So I must be looking a little peaked, looking a little wounded, looking a little oonshte, a little oonsh, looking like, I don't know, maybe I just woke up or something, but I just saw hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Thank you for that, Sandra. I will remember to hydrate. That is the squad. And as you can tell, they are well adept. They are well equipped. We know that I said in the question that, you know what, they're walking on a tightrope. I ran as a Democratic candidate one time. I remember my advisors, when the opportunity came to introduce Bernie Sanders, said, do not introduce Bernie Sanders, because you're going to piss off all the Hillary Clinton voting bloc. And the Hillary Clinton voting bloc, that also includes Obama and Biden, that is the money machine. That's the establishment of the Democratic Party. So we know, I empathize with the tightrope that Ilhan Omar, that all them progressive people have to walk within the Democratic Party. It's the same one that kicked Bernie to the curb. I mean, yes, okay, people, if you're a staunch diehard Democrat from the old establishment, you will say that, you know, Hillary won that. Bernie could have won that, but he refused to run as an independent. He refused to challenge that system, that establishment, when he could have. He's just like Trump. Bernie Sanders is just like Trump. It's proof that that the people do not want the same run-of-the-mill politicians in those offices. I definitely believe that Bernie would have won, but maybe he was a fall guy all along. Maybe he was introduced to capture the organic and authentic energy and urgency of all of the American public, because the entire American population does not want privatized healthcare. We want free healthcare. We want not free, but the healthcare that is paid for with our taxes. We don't want our taxes going to benefit Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk flying into space so they can have some sort of space race. I mean, we are living in a dystopia, like end stage capitalism. So people like the Squad are on our side, even though they are constrained by the Democratic apparatus. Just like we love Deb Haaland. You know what I mean? What she did is historic. It changed everything. We love Sharice Davids. You know, when her and Deb Haaland won those congressional seats, that's large. It's just like the Squad winning in that same. They all came in the same election, except for Cori Bush might have came a little bit later, and they're women. So there was something, universally happening with the election of power women, and it's high time. Like 70 to 80-year-old Europeans have been heteronormative, homophobic, xenophobic Americans have been running this country for, I don't know, 250 years or something. So, not only do we want our health care adequate, we want our student loans relieved. Like, when we look in front of us, the working class people of this country, we don't see a future. So we are urgent. We are desperate. I mean, you just saw that unemployment has now expired. So everybody who was receiving unemployment during COVID, and I've been fortunate, I'm very, very blessed to be able to speak and get by like that, to share my deliberations, my analysis, every other thing like that. I'm like a talking head as far as the digital sphere goes, but I'm also in these other places in real life where it matters. So anyhow, the Squad coming to Minneapolis, I just want to do a little bit of recap on that, because if on one side of people in this country who we are going to have to deal with, and yes, I agree, you can say this, they're a two-headed snake, or you can have every criticism in the book for the Republicans and the Democrats, but the reality is that we have to show up in the streets, we have to show up in the voting booths. We have, and there's a lot of leftists out there talk a big game. You know what I mean? Who come at it. I see them on Twitter, not necessarily coming at me, but just talking a big game. Like I don't know. Like, well, where they at though? You know what I mean? Like, do something. You can go to line 3. You can go to any front line. You can go to where they have children in cages. You can do whatever you can join the socialist gun club. There are many things that you can do aside from criticizing your own people in the same lane as you, trying to take this country in a direction that suits all of us. There's a lot of big talk online. I see it on Twitter. All these people do is criticize. You know what I mean? Like this. Anyhow, look, the Squad has our back, and we will continue to have their back. You've seen me push for the movement for a people's party. These political labels don't matter to me, but to just say that, you know what, the system is all screwed, it's a two-headed snake. Well, then what's after that? What kind of action are you taking, or what kind of action are you advising than just ending in that dead end critical note? I can't do that. I will support positive flow wherever I might see it. And right now it's needed at line 3 because like I was about to say, you know what I mean? We can expect these things of people like Jamie Pinkham, another Native brother in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We can expect big things from Deb Haaland. We can expect all we want from those who are Native, who are indigenous people, who are in these posts, but they are serving at the leisure of President Joe Biden. And President Joe Biden, up to this very day, is allowing line 3 brutalities to happen. There are more than 750 arrests related to line 3. It's just as big as Standing Rock. In fact, it's bigger because, you know what? We took an L at Standing Rock. The pipeline is in the ground right now. And our treaty rights aren't protected. We have no way of responding to a catastrophic spill. But line 3 is not in the ground yet. And all the pushing we do on Jamie Pinkham, I know Jamie Pinkham. I respect Jamie Pinkham. I knew him when he was at the Bush Foundation Native Governance Center. Completely respectable man. Deb Haaland, I've met her a number of times, but I know they serve at the leisure of this DNC president, you know what I mean, of establishment royalty within the Democratic Party. So I'm not going to attack other Democrats. Yes, I don't like the system. You saw the work I did to try to do some third-party movement. That is, I'm still committed to that. You know what I mean? Like just the fact that we're urging people to vote doesn't mean we don't support revolution. Like we're doing all of this at the same time. We don't have a choice, you know, especially as an indigenous person. I don't have a choice. I can't just say, you know what? I'm not American today. I'm not going to pay my taxes. You can come and get me on Pine Ridge if you want me to pay my taxes. Well, I haven't said that yet, but I've said that about my student loans. You know what I mean? Fannie Mae or Sally Mae or whoever, if they want their student loan money, you know what? You got to come find me on Pine Ridge. And I'm going to be chilling right here, squad deep, waiting. Look it. The squad is at line 3. They were at line 3. They did great work. And I'm not about to get in some little war of critical analysis, because we can spend all day on that and with the pundits and so forth. But I want to try to show you one more video, because the squad went right to Lake Bemidji. There they were joined by leaders like Sam Strong, the secretary of the Red Lake Nation, the Red Lake Tribal Nation, and several other council representatives. Tara Hauska was there. Don Goodwin was there. There was a host of people. So I would like to show you that video, because we're coming up on about an hour right now. Thank you for sharing that link, Oscar. If you see in the comment section, it says ICJ Oscar shared a link called StopLine3BailFunds.org. That is a very helpful link. Thank you for throwing that up there, Control. But let's try to roll in that video of the squad there.
I'm really grateful that you guys are all here, and you brought your platforms and your power and your energy and your hearts, most importantly. It feels good to stand in community and not feel like we're asking, but feeling like we're looking for solutions instead.
I'm Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. I represent Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, and it's really great to be here this beautiful morning in Bemidji.
I know that there has been some commentary about why exactly we're here. We're here to be more than allies. We're here to be intentional accomplices, co-conspirators in the work of justice. And again, we implore President Biden to halt the permits of this project. It is not too late. stop construction of the Line 3 pipeline, stop the criminality of Enbridge. It is not too late for as long as there is still no oil flowing through these pipelines.
We have the technology, we have the resources, we have the leadership of our country's indigenous and Black communities who understand that President Joe Biden needs to do the right thing to prevent a climate catastrophe.
I think it's really important that President Biden understands that this decision around being silent is devastating these communities. It is hurting them. And if anything, especially because the experience that we've had in Michigan is that Enbridge believes they're above the law. They're not.
And I also feel honored to be joined by colleagues who understand that not only is water life, but that native sovereignty is important, and that we, as elected officials, have a constitutional obligation to protect treaty rights.
Thank you for that. I will end by saying, you know, on one side of the political spectrum, you have the Steve Bannons, not even so much the Trump. Yeah, Trump is an easy target because he's highly visible. But the people who organized in the background to get somebody like Donald Trump elected, that's the real radical right settler fringe that I'm thinking of when I think on one side of the spectrum is, you know, maybe like Jesse Ventura and Cornel West and Susan Sarandon, you know, on this, and indigenous peoples on this one side, and then somewhere above that spectrum is the squad, you know, and we're engaged in a culture war. We are at war every single day for the hearts and the minds of our children, for the hearts and the minds of the human beings in what is called America, the American people, and by extension, the entire globe that pays attention to what happens in America, and who were appalled that somebody like Donald Trump could actually get elected. You know, on this settler, violent, radical, racist fringe side are people like Christine Noem. People who want to stop critical race theory from being taught in elementary schools because they declare it to be un-American. People who started things like the 1776 Commission, who say that, you know what, it's not just African indigenous peoples or people who are called Black Americans now who deserve reparations. It's the slave owners who lost legal chattel property in those human beings, in those human bodies. I, as a slave owner, lost that property, so I should be entitled to reparations. This is where the racist radical fringe lives. It should be no surprise. We you know, race relations weren't set back by not only Mike Brown, Eric Garner, George Floyd. They weren't set back. They were exposed. The violent settler mentality was exposed by those brothers and sisters who died unnecessarily. Breonna Taylor. Say her name, Breonna Taylor. This is happening in our country. And now that Biden is in office, it seems like they're trying to just kind of like, oh, everything's back to normal. Hey, we're not a racist country. It's just like when Obama was president. We gave you guys a black president. I mean, what more could you possibly want? You know what I mean? They think they can go into cruise control or something and let the brutalities happen at line 3. So in that broad spectrum, in this culture war, in this spiritual battle for the hearts and souls of this country, we should stick together with those of us who want a reality that is not racist, that is not fear-based, that is not divisive. These guys are going to pull out all stops. So be ready for that and do what you can. Go to stopline3.org for a petition to stop line 3. Also, Lakota Law has a petition. Lakota Law is our flagship sponsor. They have a petition. We have a petition. Let's move on. We're going to leave line 3. I did not expect line 3 to take that long, but this is why I say, you know, I recognize the responsibility of doing this work, this translating, this sharing of ideas, reading your comments. The tribal officials were there, but let's move on to Texas, because when we're talking about the 1776 Commission, when we're talking about homophobes, xenophobes, you know, denying critical race theory be taught, and I mean, there is nothing controversial about teaching the truth. These are the people that think political correctness is canceling their culture, right? They can't be racist. They can't be homophobic. They can't be as ignorant as they used to be before the internet generation started exposing them. That's the type of people who are right now trying to overturn ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act. Way back in, I believe it was 2012, 2013 maybe, I don't remember. But that is what drew me in to work with Lakota People's Law Project, because Lakota Law since 2006 has been trying to defend ICWA and to stop states like South Dakota from trafficking in Indian children, allegedly or constructively. Indian children since the boarding and residential school era have been wholesale snatched up, transported thousands of miles or maybe hundreds of miles, tens of miles to non-Indian homes and institutions against their will. That was during the forced removal era. And then it became something like a constructive forced removal, where, you know, an Indian parent would maybe have a run-in with law enforcement, or their license was suspended, or they had a tail laid out, or any other reason, or maybe there's a school official that says, you know what, this kid deserves a wellness check. And granted, there are times when this is warranted, but this has resulted in more than 700 Native children just in this state alone, just in South Dakota alone, more than 700 kids being removed from their Native custodial parent and placed 9 times out of 10 inside a non-Native home or institution in violation of the Indian Child Welfare Act. And the Indian Child Welfare Act came about in 1978, the same year that Native people were given the rights, or when our right to practice our religion, our ceremonial protocols out in the open was recognized by the American Indian Religious Freedom Act. This Leonard Peltier has been in prison longer than we've been able to pray out in the open and not be arrested for it. There used to be a thing called the Court of Indian Offenses. If you did a sweat lodge, if you did a giveaway, if you were in the Sundance, if you did a naming ceremony, if you went through any of these very necessary, important cultural protocols, you could be arrested. You were criminalized. So right now, the state of Texas, in a suit having to do with ICWA, where the appellate court said yes, ICWA is unconstitutional, that it violates provisions of the Equal Protections Clause of the United States Constitution. Now, several tribes, including the Cherokee Nation, Quinault, I saw was on that list of interveners. I forget who else is on there, but I want to draw your attention, because I want to draw your attention to a couple of pages that you should also be following. In Brackeen versus Bernhardt, it was Brackeen versus Zinke, whoever is the Secretary of the Interior or the Assistant Secretary, or Brackeen versus Deb Haaland now. So when I say that we're engaged in a culture war, this is for our realities. This is for women's bodies. This is for real. This is like Handmaid's Tale stuff happening here in Texas. So 4 cert petitions, which just means that there are multiple parties, and can you throw that Turtle Talk graphic back up there? Control Turtle Talk. Everybody who listens to Cut to the Chase, please go to Turtle Talk. I've been following their blog for a long time. I don't think it was there when I was in law school, because in fact, I think I went to law school with some people who are proprietors of Turtle Talk, but they've been around a while. turtletalk.org. And the Indian Law Clinic, as you can see at the bottom there at Michigan State University, this includes brothers like Matt Fletcher. I know that Brian Newland, who is also the Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs, was also a proponent of Turtle Talk. And please go there if you have time and you want to do a deep dive on ICWA and what's going on. I'm just going to give you a highlight of what's going on. And maybe if we can get one of the Turtle Talk brothers or sisters, somebody on the case, to come and speak on it, that would be great. Not necessary, because if you want to do a deep dive, you're more than welcome to go there and do that. There's also one more. There's a podcast called On This Land. What's this woman's name? Rebecca Nagel. I don't know if you can see right on this. Yes, Rebecca Nagel. Crooked Media is the platform that has launched this podcast called This Land. And here, Rebecca does a very deep dive into the reasons why the racist radical fringe, or what some people call the conservative right, how they're attacking indigenous sovereignty through children. And this is something that Danny Sheehan has been in my ear about for several years, even up to and including the potential assertions, the allegations that there are actual trafficking operations going on, not just lucrative operations for state departments of social services or the big pharmaceutical companies that prescribe all of these heavy duty psychotropic meds to children, not just Native children, but all children who are declared special needs children. Texas is right now trying to overturn the Indian Child Welfare Act, to have the Supreme Court declare and confirm that it is unconstitutional. And the Indian Child Welfare Act is one of these things that we are just going to defend to our death, because the Native child is the most important aspect of our existence, and our ability to transmit the worldviews, the cultural protocols, everything about us that makes us us to our children is of paramount importance. So again, go to turtletalk.org, check out this podcast called This Land, featuring Rebecca Nagel on Crooked Media, to learn more about this, because it is extremely critical. Some of you may remember the Baby Veronica case, but these radical fringe lawyers are constantly looking for ways to undermine our sovereignty, our authorities, and so forth. Now, that's just the stuff Texas is doing in relation to ICWA. There is also, as you all know, I'm sure you've all seen this because it's been just unconscionable that Texas would outlaw abortions in the first place, but which contradicts Roe versus Wade, which recognizes that women have a sovereignty over their own bodies. We should not be telling women what to do with their bodies. Texas says that even if it's a rape or incest, that woman will be forced to have that child. Texas is willing to force a young people as young as 12 to have a baby, but they're not willing to have them wear mandatory masks to prevent the spread of COVID. I cannot tell you how dangerous this is, because women for the last 4,000 years, maybe, I don't know when the matriarchy was supplanted by the patriarchy, but women who hold up half the sky, as one of our listeners asserted, are more than half the population. Their sovereignty over their own body is being usurped right now by the state of Texas. South Dakota, again, Kristi Noem piping up. We're going to do the same thing. All these racist, radical fringe countries share these things in common. They are like the Taliban. The Ku Klux Klan is a Christian-based organization. These are religious fanatics who are violently, through the threat of violence through the state, are trying to compel and enforce their religious precepts, their axiomatic dogma on this entire country. So maybe they're trying to push us into a revolution. They're trying to push us into a situation where we're going to have to stand and literally fight for ourselves. We need to inform ourselves, because what the state of Texas is doing on behalf of the entire racist radical fringe, which sees Black people and Native people as subhuman, maybe worthy of second-class citizenry. This is the same demographic that is accustomed to having women as objectified sex objects. So I wanted to highlight this and ask you all to pay attention, do whatever it is that you can wherever you're at to make sure that we don't let the racist radical fringe control our destiny, because they don't care. They miss the good old days. They want to make America great again when it was racist, when it still is very racist and classist, but when nobody said anything about it. When we knew our place as subhuman or second class or oppressed working class demographics. We knew if we stood up for ourselves that we were going to get beat down and hauled out. We knew that they were going to spray us with the hoses, or that there would be immediate physical repercussions for our uppity nature. That is the world that the racist radical fringe wants to return to. And they want to use the full weight and authority of the police force, law enforcement, the military, all of it. But, we have called their bluff. We've told them January 6th, that was their attempt. We all just forgot about it because this is a crazy country, and there's some crazy thing that'll come up, 24 hours down the road, 12 hours down the road. But blood was shed in the United States Capitol. for the first time since the early 1800s, I believe 1813, maybe around the War of 1812 or something. That was their attempt. And, it failed miserably because they underestimated just the cultural evolution that we represent as a country. Not all of us want to be racist. Not all of us want to have endless war around the globe. You know what I mean? Like we want a different kind of government. We want a different reality. But these guys are going to do everything they can to try to goad us into violence and to try to instill a sense of fear, division, and confusion in us. That's why you see all this. It's like settler violence. When the oppressed demographics start to become conscious, start to not accept things as they have been executed against us, then that worries those who are in those places of privilege, who have received the benefit of those seats of power unconsciously. If you ask any white person, they won't be able to tell you how they benefit from white privilege. You know what I mean? Unless they studied that. Most white people think that we are being too politically correct, or we're trying to cancel their culture when we talk about white fragility or white privilege. Like, sometimes you have to come from this oppressed demographic to understand what that is. But it is deconstructing, and we are dismantling it in real time. So I want to close off that, stop talking about Texas just for a hot second. I know we got tons of essays in Texas, like, where y'all at? I know that there are indigenous nations in Texas. We support you. But we've got not only showing up to the polls, showing up in the streets, at line 3, wherever it's at. I want to send my encouragement to everybody out there who's fighting that fight. And I'll end tonight's rundown by speaking about this Ahmaud Arbery case, and rest in power, everlasting, to Ahmaud Arbery, who was lynched. And in his lynching, the district attorney is now being charged. She was arrested. She was booked for helping to cover up the murder and the lynching of Ahmaud Arbery. And you remember this, we won't show the video. That's the sad thing, is that there are videos. Like, Derek Chauvin might not have been convicted unless there was actual snuff film of George Floyd taking his last breath, and in his moment of transition, crying out for his mother. It took something like that. That is an involuntary sacrifice, and it lit this country on fire. That's when, and I don't know how much of it we were burning down. We meaning people who support Black Lives Matter, people who want to teach critical race theory, people who have white allies. White allies are part of my people. You know what I'm saying? Don't fall for all these label classifications, these attempted divisive archetypes. Like, white people are my people. Indigenous people are my people. Black people are my people. Muslim people are my people. Oppressed people, including anybody working class, are my people. I don't know if it wasn't operatives that were burning places down. You saw some of these Trumpers were going into these places posing as Antifa. You remember Antifa? That's not even how you say it, but that's how, the Fox Newses and the Tucker Carlsons say it, Antifa. You remember how scary Antifa was? And they were saying like it was a terrorist organization. It's not an organization. It's a sentiment. It is an idea. It is anti-fascism. Like how can that be illegal? How is that not democratic? Like everybody should be against fascists, okay? Everybody should be Antifa. But these guys are sneaky, just like at Standing Rock. They were the ones throwing Molotov cocktails. They were the ones instigating fire and violence so that they could pinch the movement, so that they could nip it in its growing bud. So I will say that much for Cut to the Chase number 28. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Please, if you have not subscribed to our podcast, remember, if you become a financial subscriber, we have great secrets and surprises for you, my relatives, including, well, I have a bunch of women's jackets. I don't know how I ended up with a bunch of women's jackets, but I ordered some jackets. I was trying to launch some merch, and they're all women's jackets. So I guess I'm just going to be giving out women's jackets. But we will get some shirts and some other things in partnership with, we're trying to work a deal with the group called Trap Teepee. That is trap, as in like trap house, kind of a, you know what I mean? Like, yes, that's a very hoodish term, but trapteepee.com, TRAPTIPI.com. We're trying to work a merch deal with them. And we've also got our sponsors, to thank. That is Lakota People's Law Project. That is the Romero Institute. That is Last Real Indians. And that is Indigenous Peoples Movement. If you do want a jacket, please become a financial subscriber at $5 a month. You know what I mean? We got to at least break even, but we will send you this jacket. Give us a little time on that. We have not announced any of this. This is just for kind of the inside scoop. You guys have been here through the thick and the thin. I do apologize for just straight up ghosting for 2 weeks, but I needed a little me time. You know what I mean? I still need a little me time. I will never say no to a little alone time, because this life moves fast. I'm trying to share whatever aspects are appropriate for me to share in the work that I do. $100 jacket. No, just subscribe for $5 a month. You know, this jacket's probably, if I had to sell them, maybe $40. You know what I mean? $30 plus even free shipping. I'm not trying to gouge or anything. We got to get them out. These jackets are doing me no good, so we're gonna get them out. But you're gonna have to wait for that. You're gonna have to subscribe, financially subscribe, and we will get you a jacket. I can promise you that. But again, thank you all for listening. Thank you for sharing this stream. Thank you for going to our platforms. Last Real Indians. Go to those platforms. Hit the like button. Hit the follow button. Hit the retweets. Go to the Instagram. We got an Instagram now. Go to Lakota Law. I mean, Lakota Law is shaking and moving right now on Instagram, on other platforms. Find them. Indigenous Peoples Movement. They're organizing a big march for Indigenous Peoples Day. Wherever you're at, I saw Matt Remley join the stream. Shout out to Hashi. Wherever you're at for Indigenous Peoples Day, please go somewhere and throw down with whoever is around you, organizing, taking action. It just feels good to get in the streets, even if it's just damn near a parade. As long as there's a drum there, as long as someone's singing, as long as somebody is sharing consciousness, you got to get to the streets. Mask up, do all you can, to stay safe from COVID. But please do that. And aside from hitting the streets, tune in to Cut to the Chase. And if there are other podcasts out there, there's tons of people podcasting right now. I did not know this. Red Nation is podcasting. If you want to talk about indigenous leftists, go check out Red Nation. This Land, Rebecca Nagel, podcasting all about ICWA. There's probably tons of other native podcasts out there. Break Dances with Wolves. I don't know if Brother Giassi is still doing breakdance, but he was doing this a long time ago. I'm late to the party. You know what I mean? But please support indigenous artists, whether that's speaking, whether that's spoken word, whether that's hip hop, whether that's song, whether that's drumming, whether that's dance. You know what I mean? Life's too short not to lift each other up and dap each other up and give each other props. By the way, catch your latest episodes of Reservation dogs. Go catch the episode we did with Sten Jotty. Like, I don't know how if you guys are all up to date. I believe there's 6 episodes out right now. I've watched them all. Reservation Dogs. Go check it out. Anyhow, if there's anything else that I've got to give shout outs to, you're going to have to hit me in the comment section, my relatives. So thank you for paying attention this long. Skoden, Studis, all day, every day. My relatives, Midakuye, Oyasi. This has been, wait. Somebody says, where do I send money? Go to Cut to the Chase. Go to our podcast. Become a financial subscriber. And we will unlock all of the earthly secrets that are capable of the human species within this podcast. So anyhow, thank you for listening, guys, for real. This has been Cut to the Chase number 28. 28. And we are out.